Hello, everybody, and welcome to our partner showcase, Vispero software updates in Fusion Suite. As you guys are coming in here, we'd love for you guys to answer just a couple of questions about where you're coming from and just some information for us on the back end. Alrighty, while we're beginning this showcase, I'd love for you guys to be able to answer a couple of questions for us. We have a second poll in just a little bit for you guys, and I'm going to have this question on the screen already in preparation for some of our poll results. And in the meantime, we also have Jim Sullivan here from APH, and he may be sharing some of these poll results with us about where you guys are joining us from.
Right, I've launched the poll, Amanda, so folks should be able to answer that. You want to go ahead and read that fourth question for everybody?
Sure. So, are you talking about this? Yeah. So the fourth question that we have, as you can see on screen, is do you understand the difference between Fusion, JAWS, and Zoom Text? And this is just a yes or no. And while we're getting these questions tabulated, we would love for you guys to let us know a little bit more. And in the meantime, as you can see, we have a little bit of ground rules for this webinar session. The first is that we would love for you guys to type your questions into the chat. This webinar does not have any ACV REP credit for partner showcases, and there will be closed captioning available for this webinar. I will be your host for today's webinar. My name is Amanda Dennis, and I am the engagement specialist at the American Printing House for the Blind. And joining us today, we have Elizabeth Whitaker, and she is the Vispero product manager for user education and outreach. And along with Elizabeth, we have Ron Miller, who also is from Vispero, and he is the blindness technology training specialist. And while we are doing some of our introductions, we would love to get some of the poll results so that we can understand if you guys know about what the difference is between JAWS, Fusion, and Zoom Text. And in the meantime, I'd love to share with you guys that we have about 19% of you guys joining from the Northeast. That's great. We also have a good 13% from the Southeast, 10% from the Northwest, 29% from the Southwest, and we have 23% of you guys joining us from the Midwest. And we do also have 6% from an international location. That's great. So, as we launch this second poll, we would love for you guys to be able to answer. I will pull that back on screen here in just a second, so you guys can see that question. And that, once again, was, do you understand the difference between Fusion, JAWS, and Zoom Text? Just a yes or no.
And it looks like we've had a number of folks respond, and it looks like, Liz, about 69% of the folks who are with us do understand the difference between JAWS, Fusion, and Zoom Text. So that's great. Just 31% not understanding that. So Liz, as you tell us a little bit about where we're going today, can you maybe just briefly outline the differences again between those three products for the small percentage of folks out there that might need a little more explaining?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us here today. First off, it's great to be here, and thank you all for coming. So today we're here to talk about JAWS, Zoom Text, and Fusion 2024 and the new features. But just to go over what those products are. So JAWS is our screen reader. It verbalizes text on the screen and allows people who are totally blind or who may not have enough vision to actually see the screen to navigate and perform tasks such as email, internet, navigating the web, preparing documents, and things of that nature. Zoom Text is our screen magnification application, and that is what allows you to magnify the screen, enhance your colors, your mouse pointer, cursors, and what allows you to navigate the screen magnified. Fusion is a combination of the two. So you can run Fusion as you can either run JAWS, you can run Zoom Text, or you can run the Fusion interface, which combines that some of those controls, if you will, some of the features that you need, the magnification and the speech features all in one place. So Fusion gives you the best of both worlds. It gives you both those products and also makes them available in one interface. So today what we're going to cover is a few features, a couple of features in JAWS, a couple features in Zoom Text. You're going to hear us use those terms. And of course, we're going to talk about Fusion because if you're a Fusion user, you will be able to use the JAWS features from the JAWS side of Fusion. Or if you're a Zoom Text or Fusion user and you use Zoom Text predominantly, you're going to be able to use those features as well. So the features we're going to be talking about are face and view, split braille. Those are both JAWS features. And then the Zoom Text features we're going to cover are inverted mouse pointer schemes and single wedge cursor enhancements. And once again, these are all new to version 2024. And then we're going to give you some training resources. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to you, Amanda, before we actually get started talking about our first feature.
Alrighty, thanks, Liz. So we have a question for all of you guys. And our question is, have you updated your Fusion, JAWS, or Zoom Text version to the newest version? And your options are yes, no, or not applicable.
So I'll go ahead and end the poll and share the results real quickly with everybody. And seems like we've got like a pretty even split between yes, I have updated, no, I have not updated, or not applicable, with not applicable applying to about 41% of the people who have replied. So Liz, Ron, it looks like for those who are users, it's pretty much 50-50 between those who have and those who have not updated.
All right, great. We're going to be talking about a couple of ways you can update here at the end. So, all right. So I guess we're ready to delve into our very first feature here, which is called Face and View. So we have a slide up here that has some bullet points. We're just going to go over those. And then I'm going to actually demonstrate how this works. I'm going to share my screen here in just a moment. So one of the challenges that we face as JAWS users is when you are going to participate in a video call, a meeting, a webinar, which, we all do very frequently these days. One of the challenges that we face is knowing whether our camera is in focus. Do we have adequate lighting? What might be in the view when we're actually using our camera? Can people see us? So these are all challenges that we face. And historically, we always had to ask someone else, and there may not always be someone else to ask. So Face and View solves this problem. It's a JAWS and Fusion feature. It's on the JAWS side if you're using Fusion, but it allows you to focus your camera before you participate in a video call or a meeting or a webinar. And currently, you must, before you actually go into that call or that webinar, before you hand your camera over to that application like Zoom or Teams or whatever application it may be, you go into Face and View, you set that up, and then you're ready to join that video call. So it allows you to center your face in the view. It allows you to, again, know your brightness level, check for the lighting, and make sure that you are in view. All right, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. I'm going to turn my video off for those of you who are able to see, because I need the camera to be freed up so that I can go into face and view and show you. Now, from a visual perspective, since I'm sharing my screen here in Zoom, you will actually see my face and you'll see some locator dots, some little green dots that are locator dots, well, positioning dots, if you will, where the eyes are, the nose, the mouth, and so forth. So I'm going to stop my video and I am going to share my screen.
ZP.
All right.
Share preview double. What one dot docs word. Mute.
All right. Can you guys see that now? You should be able to. I have my Zoom in focus here.
So currently right now, what we're seeing is what's new slide notes. We're seeing
Okay.
Microsoft Word.
Okay, that's fine. All right. So let's say I am going to go into face and view. The first thing I want to do is turn it on. I'm going to press insert space. It's a layered command. I'm going to press insert space. You hear that little click there. Now we're in the command layer. We're going to press F Foxtrot.
Face and view.
We heard it say face and view. And to turn it on, we're going to press O Oscar.
Opening face and view.
So when
Face and
you
view using integrated webcam. You are centered. You are pointing to center.
all right, so it gives us some information there. When you first want to set up your camera here, you go into face and view, you toggle it on, and then you toggle it off the same way. Insert space, F Foxtrot, O Oscar. Now here it gave me a lot of great information. It told me that I'm centered, and we'll cover this again. And it told me that I had good lighting. You can tab through this dialog. Now I'm going to show you how to do that, but there's also some keyboard commands that are really, really useful here. And we're going to go over those. But if I tab, we're going to get some good information.
Graphic. Number of faces 1.
So number of faces.
Face location X equals 51%, Y equals 49%.
That gives you kind of an
face location.
information kind of on a grid there.
Brightness 42%.
There's our brightness.
Frame processing time 46 ms. Camera device 0. Integrated webcam.
All right, so it gave us information about how many faces. It gave us the location kind of on a grid, like an X and Y axis. So I'm almost right in the middle there. And then it gave us brightness. And I tabbed here and it said camera, and it told me that I'm using my integrated webcam. If I had an external camera, I could switch to that as well. So you want to make sure that you're using the camera that you're going to be using when you're in your meeting. Now, if your camera is anything like mine here on my laptop, I'm going to reach up here. I have a little slider next to the camera that will actually close the shutter, or close that lens and put a cover over that.
No face detected. Brightness is very low. You are centered. You are pointing to center.
So if I get this error here, it's a no faces detected, and I know I have good lighting, I want to go check that. You may not have that little slider, but for those of you who do, it's a good idea to check it. I'm going to open that.
Brightness is very high. You are centered. You are pointing to center.
All right. Now, if we want to get some information, let's go over the keyboard commands. I'm going to show you how to get a list of those commands here in face and view. We're going to press insert space to once again enter the command layer. F Foxtrot.
Face and view.
And now we're going to press question mark, which is going to give us a list of all of the keyboard commands available in the face and view layer.
The following commands are available in the face and view layer.
All right, and we can read these. These come up in the virtual viewer, which allow us to actually read these with our arrow keys.
Toggle face and view on or off using the letter O.
So when it gives you these letters, it's assuming that you've already pressed insert space followed by F Foxtrot. So from here, you can toggle face and view on or off with the letter O.
Get the detailed face and view description using the letter D.
You can get a detailed description with D, Delta.
Get the current brightness level using the letter L.
L, Lima. That gives you your current brightness level. Do you have sufficient light?
Run Picture Smart on the current frame using the letter P.
P, Papa. That runs our Picture Smart feature, which will tell you what might be in the frame, and we're going to use that here in just a minute. You know, are there objects around me on my desk that are being picked up here by the camera? You know, things like that.
Activate the camera layer for cycling through available cameras. C.
So C, Charlie, will activate the camera layer, and that will allow you to switch cameras if you have multiple cameras connected, or if you are using a device, a computer that has maybe a front and back camera, then you would want to, again, make sure that you set up the camera you're going to be using in your meeting.
Cycle through the available confidence.
Oh, confidence levels.
Active cycle through the available confidence levels. U.
All right, so we have confidence level. Confidence level is a feature. You have two levels there, 80 and 75. If you continue getting an error when it says no face detected, and you know it should be detecting the face, you keep getting errors there, then you can change that confidence level. So when you use this command, it cycles you between 80 and 75.
Cycle through the available confidence level.
And that's it. So there are 6 commands there. I'm going to press escape to exit the list of commands, and we're going to actually use these and go over what they do.
Blank. Face and view. Camera device. 0. Integrate.
All right. I'm going to press insert space followed by F Foxtrot,
Face and view.
L Lima.
Brightness is normal.
So tell me brightness is normal. That's good. Let's try, well, O is our toggle, so we know that that would turn face and view off. Let's try U.
Face and view. Detection confidence is now 70%.
Okay, now it went to 70%. So we can keep, if we do it again.
Face and view. Detection confidence is now 75%.
We have 75%.
Face and view. Detection confidence is now 80%.
So you have a few different options there for your confidence level. So once again, that's insert space, F Foxtrot, U uniform. All right, so now let's try D, insert space, F Foxtrot,
Face and view.
D Delta.
Location 49% horizontally and 49% vertically. You are centered. You are pointing to center. Brightness is normal.
So when it says you are centered, that means we're centered in the frame. You are pointing to center means that your face is pointing center. So that's for details there. All right, let's try C.
Face and view. Cameras.
And here, if I had multiple cameras, which I do not, but if I did, I could use my up and down arrow keys to cycle through them, and then I could change my camera that way. All right, and finally, let's try P, Picture Smart. Insert space, F Foxtrot,
Face and view.
P for picture.
Picture Smart is in progress.
Give it a minute here.
Heading level 2 caption is a person with a face mask.
Okay. Sometimes it'll say face mask. I don't actually have a face mask on. Sometimes it'll come back and say you're wearing glasses. Now remember, this is a feature that goes out on the internet to come back with a description. But if you down arrow, you get some interesting tags that are associated with this image.
Heading level 5 total number of faces in this photo is 1. Heading level 4 these objects probably appear in the photo.
All right, now we're going to find out what might be in this photo.
Clothing, person, window, blind. Heading level 3 these tags describe the photo. Chin, eyebrow, eyelash, forehead, human face, indoor, lip, mouth, person, shoulder, vision care, wall. Heading level 3 these tags probably describe the photo. Accessory, ear, neck, window.
So it just gives you some information. We know we're centered. I know there's a window behind me. It's picking that up.
Heading level.
When I am finished, let's see.
Heading level 3 this tag possibly describes the photo.
Now it gives you a tag that possibly describes the photo.
Woman, woman.
All right, good to know. All right, so I'm going to press escape to exit that.
Camera device.
And then I'm going to turn off face and view because now I know I can start my video once again in Zoom. So I'm going to press insert space, F Foxtrot,
Face and view.
O Oscar.
Closing face and view. What one dot docs were.
And then
screen sharing meeting control. Audio set. Start video set. Start video.
And there we go.
Video set. Stop video.
So that is how you use face in view. Now I'm going to stop sharing my screen and let's see if we have any questions about this feature.
Alrighty, so we don't have any specific questions about this feature, but somebody wants to know how to turn off JAWS alerts instead of having to mute JAWS entirely.
Yes, here in Zoom. All right. If you're using JAWS, press Alt Windows S Sierra. That is a toggle. So it's either going to say alerts enabled, or if you press it again, alerts disabled. Once again, that's Alt Windows S Sierra.
Awesome. Well, if any of you guys have any other questions, definitely post them in the chat and we will have Liz answer. In the meantime, we can move towards what our next feature will be.
All right, next we're going to talk about split braille, and I'm going to hand it off to Ron, who's going to tell you about that and also do some demoing here. All right, Ron, it says you're unmuted, but if you're talking, we cannot hear you. All right, now it says you're muted. Yeah, there you are. Yeah, we can hear you now.
Phew. Well, too bad you missed all the great stuff I said. Okay. Again, I'm glad to be here with all of you. I guess I shouldn't say again. So split braille for me as a braille user is one of the most exciting things we've done in a while. It is just introduced in JAWS 2024, of course, and it gives JAWS users, JAWS braille users, a brand new functionality that's never been done. I think long ago, there might have been a product that did it and it went by the wayside. We are doing it again, and it allows somebody to view the content from different locations on the same braille display. We've got several different types of views. So what we've done, excuse me, I had to cough. What we've done is we've actually allowed you to split the braille line on your braille display into two halves or two regions. And just so you know, by default, we call the left half of that split line region 1, the right half we call region 2. So you can look at different things. It's the closest a braille user is going to come to dual monitor, at least for a while. And it lets us look at a couple of different things at one time, and we can choose some things that we want to do. This will work with braille displays of any length. We haven't limited it, so whether you've got an 80 cell display or a 14 cell display, you can use it. My comment is, of course, when you get down to 20 and 14 cells and stuff, you're really suffering from diminishing returns because you're splitting an already small braille display. But I'm going to find somebody who says, I do it all the time and I love it. So that's all totally good. So the first thing you want to know probably is, how do you invoke the split braille feature? How do you turn it on? You do that by pressing Insert Alt V, Victor. Insert Alt V. If you're using a braille display, a focus braille display specifically, you can press left shift plus dots 1, 2, 7. Left shift plus dots 1, 2, 7. That way your fingers don't have to leave the braille display to issue this command. And a dialog will pop up and give you options to choose from. Okay, and we're going to talk about that dialog, and as we talk about the dialog, it'll explain the different views that are available. This view, whatever view you invoke, it remains available, it remains active during the entirety of the current JAWS session unless you change it. So if JAWS is restarted for any reason, the view returns to the default mode in which the entire braille line is displaying what's at the active cursor. Okay. When a split braille view is active, the current location is displayed in region 1 on the left side of the display, and whatever your other view is displayed in region 2 on the right side of the display. That can be changed, and I can show you how to do that once we open up the dialog here. Okay, there's a swap button. So you can do that. When you're using a focus braille display, and for other displays that are supporting this feature, for sure with the focus, you can navigate text in the split view. I'm sorry, is there a question?
No question, Ron.
Okay,
No
I'm going to roll on
question.
then. You can navigate view. Okay, I just heard some audio in the background there. No problem. I just don't want to roll over somebody if they've got something that I've left them in the dark. So you can navigate both views independently, so you can pan through your Region 2 view, your split view, and you can move up and down by line. And of course, the Region 1 view where your active focus is will be completely controllable in the normal fashion. Okay, so there you go. Let's look at these views. Okay, and we'll spend some time. So I'm going to press, oh, I'm going to share my screen is the first thing I ought to do. Sorry. Give me half a sec here. Fat fingers. And for the sake of bandwidth, I've stopped my video, my picture. I'm way back at the other side of Miller's Manor as I'm doing this, and so bandwidth is a little dear.
Webinar. Start my video. Alt-V button. Screen sharing meeting control.
Okay, and hopefully you've got video and audio both.
Screen sharing meeting controls.
Okay, so let me press Insert Alt-V Victor.
Quick settings. Zoom software dialog.
Oops,
Search box.
I did ask.
Escape.
That's again.
Screen
Ready?
sharing meeting
Insert.
controls.
Insert Alt-V Victor.
Select Braille view dialog. List 1 list view. No split.
That's better. Okay. And no split is just like it sounds. It is the default setting. So it means that there is no split. The entire length of the Braille line shows the active cursor, whatever that may be, and what's being displayed there. Now let me press tab. I want to walk you around this dialog that we're in for just a minute.
Read only edit. The full display is used for the current line. This is the default.
So the next thing you encounter is a description of what each view does. So as you're getting to know split Braille, you're starting to use it, and you get to a view and you can't remember what it does, and you don't want to go all the way to the help system to look it up. Just press tab one time, and there's a little brief description of what that view is. Let me press tab again.
OK button. Alt
There's an
plus
OK
O.
button for now.
Cancel button.
Cancel
Alt
button.
plus C. Default button. Alt plus D.
So let's move down one.
Swap split button. Alt plus S.
Oh, and there's my swap split button that I was talking about. Okay.
Default button. Alt
There's
plus
default.
D. Swap split button. Alt plus S.
And I'm just
We lose Ron.
Ron, are you still there? Oh, it looks like he somehow disconnected. But his screen is still sharing.
He did say that he was in the back of Miller Manor.
Well, he is now gone.
Yeah, I think he'll be back here in just a second.
uh-oh.
Oh, there you are. Okay, great.
Did I disappear?
You did.
Yes.
Oh no, I'm very sorry. Where did I drop out at?
You were navigating through the different buttons, and you had your default and your
Okay.
swap split.
Okay, you didn't miss much. Well, is screen sharing still active, or do I need to restart it?
You need to restart it.
No problem. Well, if it'll let me. Ooh, there it comes.
Transcription closed. Captioning has been enabled. Press share preview W.
Okay.
Screen sharing meeting controls.
And thank you. Here we go. I'm going to press Insert Alt-V to get us back to where we were.
Select Braille view dialog. List 1 list.
And down arrow.
Annotations. Buffered text.
Buffered text was already selected for me. So buffered text is our first option as we arrow down through here. What buffered text does is it selects the text at your current cursor location, your active cursor, and places it in a buffer, which is displayed in Region 2. And once the buffer is created, you can navigate within that document just like you normally would. You can switch to an entirely different document. You can browse the web, whatever you want to do, and you'll see that in region 1, but the text that you've buffered will remain in region 2. So you can read through it, you can pan through it, move through it by line, okay? It lets that text that you were at stay visible in region 2. By default, the current paragraph is captured. So let's say you're in a document and you want to grab this paragraph for reference as you do something else. You can grab it, it'll be in region 2, and you can navigate off, and whatever your active cursor is doing, you'll see it region 1. So I don't know, the possibilities are huge. You could go to an email and you'd have the info you needed. You know where it would be cool for me? I'll do emails and I've got contact information or something. I need to look up the email address, the person's name, maybe some other stuff. I may put that in the buffer so I can read through it as I'm working. Okay, you could do that. You could do any of those things. If I want to change what text is buffered, I can move to the, let me do it with here. I'll tab.
Read only, edit, focus, control, buffer, OK button, cancel button, default button, Alt+D. Swap split button, options button, Alt+O.
Now, if I was smart, I'd have pressed Shift Tab and got the short way around to get to options, but let's open that up.
Space, screen sharing meeting controls, buffer unit dialog, list 1, list view, document up to 64 KB.
So I can grab the whole document up to 64 kilobytes. So if I wanted the document in front of me, I could do that.
Selected text.
Just arrow down. If I have selected some text in my document, okay, and I want to buffer that, I can do that.
Clipboard text.
Okay, that's pretty straightforward. The nice thing about showing clipboard text, if any of you use append to clipboard, so you're adding stuff to your clipboard, you can go from source to source, keep appending to that clipboard, and then show the clipboard text. So all the stuff that you've put in the clipboard, you can now see. Okay, that's your choices. I'm going to tab back around.
OK button, Alt, cancel button, list 1, list view, clipboard text.
Okay.
OK button, Alt+O.
I'm going to cancel.
Space.
All righty.
Screen sharing meeting controls.
And I'm going to press, it just dropped out. So I'm going to press Insert, Alt-V again.
Select Braille View dialog, list 1, list view, buffered text.
Okay, and that's what we are. JAWS will always take you back to what you've selected. So we selected buffered text. We did that by going through and selecting a size, 64K, all those things. So let's arrow down.
Annotations.
Annotations is our next choice. Let me show this to you real quickly. And annotations is
Enter.
great because, let me get to a document here.
Screen sharing meeting control. St. Pete Docs Word. Out of table, page 2, St. Pete Docs Word.
So here's my St. Pete documents. And if you have annotations in a document, it didn't come up. Let's make it come up.
Select Braille View dialog, buffer, annotation,
There
enter.
it is.
Page 2, edit, page 2.
All right, there it is. So if you have a document, you're working in Microsoft Word, and you've got footnotes, endnotes, you've got comments, you've got changes. If you have annotations turned on, the text will be displayed on your Braille display. But anytime you encounter an annotation or a footnote, an endnote, any of those, your display will split. And on the left side, you'll see your text. On the right side, you'll see the comment or whatever. Now, let me ask one of you, Amanda, or somebody, whoever can tell me, are you seeing my Braille viewer on the screen as well at the top of the screen? You should be seeing a text and a Braille representation of my display.
Yes, that is viewable on the top of the screen.
Super. Okay, so I'm going to press up arrow once.
Blank.
And again.
Heading level 3, earliest history.
So earliest history. Arrow down.
Blank. As comment, St. Petersburg, and as comment was explored by the Spanish adventurer Juan Ponce.
De Leon is where we're headed with that. But you'll notice JAWS said has comment when it passed over the word St. Petersburg. It did not read the comment. Okay, we didn't slow down our flow. But on the display, the left side says St. Petersburg, and it's highlighted in Braille. It was explored by the, and then the split occurs. And on the right, it says comment. Should we say this area, since St. Petersburg's founder since St. Petersburg wasn't founded. Sorry. So should we say this area, instead of saying St. Petersburg was explored, should we say this area since I can't talk today, since St. Petersburg wasn't founded? And then Ron Miller, the comment attributor, is given as well. That shows up on the other half of the Braille display. So you see those comments, you see the revisions. I know in a document where I'm co-authoring, if there's a revision there, it's really nice to be reading through the document. I'll look at it in Braille. And if there's a revision, it shows up. It shows up in Braille so I can look at it along with my other text. If I arrow down again, or if I pan again.
Leon. The Leon, he arrived here in 1521.
My entire Braille length of the display now shows the text again. We're not on that comment anymore. Focus has moved on. Focus has moved on. And we have a full Braille length of the text itself. So annotations I find to be very useful. And for that reason, let's move on here.
Select escape.
I keep doing it.
Escape, edit.
Here we go.
Select Braille view dialog. List 1, list view. Annotations, 3 of 8. Attribute indicators, 4 of 8. Attribute indicators. If you've used our Braille displays before, you know that you can toggle your display into a mode where you'll see the attributes if it's bolded, highlighted, if there's italics. You'll have, instead of the words being viewed, you'll see letters, N for normal, H for highlight, B for bold, and they'll be arranged just like the words would be on your display. And you can check what those attributes are. What we've done here is we've split the screen. You can read through the text. Enter. Page 2. Edit page 2.
You can read through the text. And on the left is the text. In region 2 on the right are the attributes. Now on the display you see the word Leon, period, de Leon. He arrived here in. And on the right side of the display, you have, this is not very exciting. It just says N, 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 because that's the first word, and they're all in normal text. But the attributes are given without having to switch your display back and forth between a regular view of the text and the attributes view. So
select as escape.
Keep hitting S instead of V. So instead of
Braille view.
Instead of having to flip back and forth between attributes and regular view when you're trying to proofread your text, you just look at it in a split view.
Speech history.
Speech history shows what's in the speech history buffer. That can be really useful because it updates every time JAWS speaks. The last thing JAWS spoke will be on the right side of your display in region 2. Your regular, whatever's in view at the active cursor is in region 1. So, for example, if I am in Zoom and I have speech turned off so that it's not getting into my Zoom, or even turned on, doesn't matter, I can set up speech history, and if a message pops from Zoom, somebody left the meeting, somebody joined the meeting, I can hear that. I can, obviously. But for me, as I present, I use speech off all the time. So unless I'm sharing my sound with you guys. So I might want to see those messages. I might want to see a chat that comes up without having to go to the chat field. All that stuff shows up in speech history. Okay. Often there's a lot more available in speech than you're going to see in Braille, or it's going to be a flash message and it disappears. So speech history lets you keep half of your display looking at the speech history. And if you missed a message and say 2 or 3 messages cascaded in, you can pan back, you can navigate back through the speech history and look at what went by. If you've got a bunch of chats that are happening while you're in the meeting. If you're doing Teams, Microsoft Teams are being used a lot in businesses, you can see who joined a meeting because speech says it, but Braille doesn't. So if I'm working with speech muted, I can see it. Somebody just popped in. Or if I want to check their spelling. There's lots of uses for that.
Translation split.
Translation split allows you to show the Braille setting that you have at your active cursor. And you can set a different Braille output on the right half of the screen in region 2. Let's say I'm learning Braille or I'm teaching Braille to somebody. We're learning Unified English Braille, contracted. But I'm learning it. I'm getting pretty good. But I'm still encountering some things I just can't remember. Can't remember part cell word signs, whatever I'm working on, whatever I'm having problems with. I can set my Braille display up using split view so that UEB grade 2, UEB contracted Braille is in region 1, and in region 2, I have uncontracted Unified English Braille. Okay, so the punctuation symbols, all of that are there, but the text itself is uncontracted. So if I need help, I can look right over there and compare. And I haven't mentioned it, but in all of these things where we're showing an attribute mode in in this mode, in translation mode, wherever, as I read through text, the right side will keep up with it. So it's always showing what I'm seeing on the left side as well. In this instance, it's untranslated.
JAWS cursor 7 of 8.
Excuse me. I didn't want to try muting again. JAWS cursor shows you exactly what it says. If I park my JAWS cursor somewhere and I'm in an app, it will let me see what that cursor is showing. So on the right side of my display, the JAWS cursor view is showing. On the left, the active cursor, which is probably the PC cursor. That can be handy if you're looking at a status bar. Say you're updating JAWS, and you want to see those numbers change, or you're transferring files or whatever. Wherever you want to park your JAWS cursor and keep seeing what your JAWS cursor is seeing, but also get back to work. It'll let you do that.
Window text 8 of 8.
And finally, window text. Window text in applications where Windows allows it, and I haven't figured out what Windows' rules are for that, but in certain applications, you can go into the application and then invoke window text, and your display will be split, and the focus location that you're currently at will remain in view in region 2, but you can navigate off to other places, other things, and you'll see what's happening again in region 1 where your active cursor is, but that window view will be retained on in region 2, so you can see what's happening in that window that you want to watch in that other application. Okay,
Escape.
so I know we moved through this really quickly, but that is, let me get back to our meeting.
Screen sharing meeting control. Screen share all dead.
So that's, in a very big nutshell, split Braille view. I'm going to pass it back to Amanda, and we'll move on. Thank you, everybody.
Awesome. So before we move on, we actually have a question. Our question is from Nancy, and she wants to know, for testing, if a student is reading a question and having to reference a passage, how would that work with split Braille?
That is a great question and a great application. If you're in a document and you've got a passage you've got to read, and also you need to fill in the blanks about that passage, I would say park your cursor at the beginning of the passage. And if it's just a paragraph, you just set up your buffered view like we discussed, and that passage will remain in region 2, and your student can navigate off and fill in the blanks. If it's a bigger passage, you could just buffer the document, or you could select the passage. We sort of talked about that. But yes, absolutely, you could have the passage in the buffered view and then move on and go through your test questions in the regular active view. It's a great application for that.
Awesome. Alrighty, so now we're moving on to some of our Zoom text features, and I have loaded the presentation on the screen, so we can go over.
Sounds great. All right. I want to remind everyone too, unfortunately, we weren't able to demo the Zoom text features today. However, we are in the process of creating some videos. We're going to have a lot more Zoom text training in 2024. So the first feature is the inverted mouse pointer scheme. This is a Zoom text feature. You can use it in Fusion if you're using the Zoom text part of Fusion. And it inverts the mouse pointer and background colors so that you're able to locate the pointer more easily. So one of the problems people experienced when using Zoom text was not being able to locate the pointer. And also when you did find the pointer, it might be covering up the text or obscuring the text. So not only do we invert the colors, but we also have made it a bit transparent in the middle. So you still have that outline of your pointer, so you can still see it. And in the middle, you'll be able to see that text. So it's not going to obscure what your mouse is on. So again, the colors under the pointer are going to invert. So for example, blue, the inverted for blue is orange, white, and black, black or white. So if you have a white, if you're looking at white text, for example, and your pointer is black, that's going to change. It's going to be white pointer, black text. All right. Now, also talking about pointers, I did want to mention this. So in previous versions of ZoomText, we only had 3 sizes of pointers. We had, I think it was called regular, large, and extra large. So again, one of the challenges there was that people were, maybe regular was too small, but when you actually chose the large pointer size, maybe that was too large. So it was difficult sometimes to find that place and to fine tune, especially when you're transitioning, when you are, if you're losing vision or if you're working with a student who's losing vision, and you can still use ZoomText and you need to be able to locate the mouse, but you just weren't able to because you couldn't get the right pointer size. Well, now we have 15 different sizes, so you can change incrementally. So you have a lot more, no longer 3, now they're 15. All right, the next slide here that we have is on single wedge cursor enhancements. So traditionally, when you're looking at the cursor, what you have the flashing cursor, and you would have a triangle above and a triangle below. So the triangle on top would point down and the triangle on the bottom would point up. And by default, this was blue. So you would have those 2 blue triangles there. When you're working with magnification, when you're in a magnified area, that can get a bit cluttered. So we've added a feature called single wedge cursor. So you still have the double wedge if you would like to use that, but you will now also have the option of just having a single triangle above or below. So you either have a triangle above pointing down or a triangle below pointing up. And so that makes it easier to locate. As one of my coworkers explained it to me, he said it's, you can have the hat or the shoes. So I thought that was kind of funny, even though, it's not necessarily a triangle, it's still kind of funny. Now you can customize these. So again, they're by default, they're blue and it's a triangle, but you can also customize them. They can be arrows, they can be different colors. So that makes, again, that makes the cursor easier to locate. So we have a feature that makes the pointer easier to locate and a feature that makes the cursor easier to locate. A couple of other things I did want to mention too that we've changed here. So we've introduced a few versions ago, we introduced the quick access bar in ZoomText. Now this is similar to the quick access bar in Office products, if you've ever used that, where you can place up to 8 commands that you frequently use on the quick access bar. Well, you can do the same thing here in ZoomText and Fusion if you're using ZoomText, where you might have some magnification settings, cursor settings, speech settings, things that you change or customize on a regular basis. You can select up to 8 of those things and place them there, and it places the icons there on your quick access bar. You do have some defaults there, but you can customize it. So previously, the quick access bar by default would appear when you run ZoomText. Well, some users found this distracting. It takes up quite a bit of real estate. So, maybe you want to move it out of the way, but maybe you want to be able to use it when you want it. So now we have a keyboard command, a couple ways to bring it up actually. So now it looks like the quick access bar, but it really behaves a lot like a customizable context menu where you can just call it up when you need it. So now if you would like to bring up the quick access bar, you can press caps lock space followed by Q, Quebec, or caps lock right mouse click with your mouse. So again, you can place up to 8 of your most frequently used settings there. Couple of other changes as well. Now we've simplified the menu structure, so we've grouped some things together. You still have all of the same options, but it's just less cluttered, a little simpler to navigate. We also have a new magnification engine, which improves performance. So it's going to speed things up. And those are the major updates that we've made, or major enhancements and features to Zoom Text. And again, we will have videos and more training coming in 2024. So if you're a Zoom Text user or you work with students who use Zoom Text, stay tuned for that. Just to go over a couple of our training resources while I'm talking about that very briefly. We do have our training page at freedomscientific.com/training. That contains all the training for JAWS, Zoom Text, Fusion, Braille, and so forth. And you can get a list of all of our upcoming webinars, archived webinars, access our training schedule, and so forth. And then if you have any questions or feedback or things that you would like to see us create training on, send us an email to training@vispero.com. And Vispero is Victor, India, Sierra, Papa, Echo, Romeo, Oscar, Vispero. So that's training@vispero.com. And I'm going to turn it back over to Amanda.
Awesome. That was really great information. So just for you guys, now we have a couple of different questions for you. Our first question will be, which feature do you find the most useful? Split Braille in JAWS, Face View in JAWS, inverted mouse pointer with Zoom Text, single wedge cursor with Zoom Text, or none of the above? And we've gone ahead and launched this poll.
So Amanda, as these guys are responding to this, why don't you advance to the last slide, and I can review some of the options that are available through APH. And Liz, we did get a comment from Nancy Kaufman about wanting to see more training on using Fusion with both Zoom Text and JAWS running, and if there's a good training for the two separate parts of the program.
Yes, and thank you for that. We are going to develop that more as well. So that will also be coming, because it is important to know how to use JAWS and Zoom Text, but it's also important to understand the interface, and so that, students and users and, everyone knows how to navigate all of those different components. So thank you.
All right, so for those of you who are or not aware, licensing or licenses from Vispero and Freedom Scientific are available with quota funds and without quota funds. We have our JAWS annual student license, which is $99, and our Zoom Text annual license, which is $89. And those licenses are renewable each year. One of the nice things about those licenses is you're always able to stay current with updates. And I think, Liz, you had mentioned you wanted to talk a little bit about how to update. But the other option that we currently have available that's been hanging on is a path to ownership option, which is what you would be purchasing if you were specifically interested in Fusion. Fusion is a part of this software suite that includes JAWS as well as Zoom Text. It is $300 and can be purchased 4 times. And after that 4th purchase, the student would take ownership of the license. Once ownership is taken, it would be necessary for the student or the educational institution to purchase updates for that license. And we have been working over the course of, I'd say, the last, 12 to 16 months on an annual option for Fusion. And hopefully we'll be able to talk more about that in the weeks to come. So Liz, did you want to talk briefly about how to update, and then pass back to Amanda to wrap up?
Yeah, sure. Just for a moment, I just wanted to make a few comments about updating. So When you see the numbers like 2024, 2025, and so forth, those are upgrades. Those are the upgrades that are paid, the things that if you have the license, for example, if your license is up to date, then you can go ahead and you can download those. Throughout the year, we make smaller updates. So between now and next year, we'll make updates to 2024. So those are free. If you have 2024, then you will be able to update when those are released. Just a couple of notes, you can update from a few places. You can go into the help menu of JAWS or ZoomText or Fusion, and you can update from there. There's a place that says check for updates. You can also go to freedomscientific.com, go to the software release heading, and then there are links for JAWS, ZoomText, and Fusion. Those will take you off to the What's New pages. You can learn more about all of the new features and enhancements, and you'll be able to download your update from there. And then, of course, if you have an annual license, you can do it from within the portal. And again, if you have questions about any of that, email us at training@vispero.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys today for joining us. It looks like a lot of you guys found the split view really useful, as well as the face and view. And some of you found, about 24% of you guys also found the inverted mouse pointer as a really useful feature within ZoomText. We're happy that we were able to share today with Liz and Ron, and we hope that you guys have a good rest of your day, and thanks for joining us.
All right. Thank you, everyone.